What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kruger. Surprise with new topics every single weekend, jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we got a brand new UFC event this weekend, UFC Mexico City, coming at you, what is it, the 27th? 27th, I'm doing, no, the 28th, February 28th, same day as UFC Elimination Chambers. This is a little double spectacular episode. You get UFC Mexico City predictions and UFC Elimination Chamber predictions. And the chaos around each event is Elimination Chamber is here in Chicago. I literally work a couple blocks down from the stadium it's happening at, and the tickets are way too expensive. Like, there's no justifiable reason with my situation right now. Like, I do not have the expendable income to go out there and just buy a $800 Elimination Chamber ticket, because I'm not dropping $300 to sit in the nosebleeds. Now, if I drop a ticket, I at least want to have good seats. Trust me, this comes from a wrestling fan. And in terms of UFC Mexico City, apparently there's been a cartel war going on, so I hope none of that affects UFC Mexico City. But yeah, you get predictions for both of those events today, and we're looking to bounce back for the UFC. We have not been killing it. Now, for the WWE, we are yet to have an incorrect prediction so far, but this will be my toughest test yet. So, predictions for both of those, and of course, we're going to be kicking off the episode with a bunch of new UFC fights to bring to your guys' attention. But hey, it's currently Wednesday, the 25th. It's been an okay week so far in terms of landing sales in my little job here. And I actually have a Zoom call in about an hour and a half, so I really actually less than an hour and 10 minutes, so I should probably get on the go with this. So let's get right down to business, ladies and gentlemen. First off, every new episode of the Surprise Jab Podcast is kicked off with new UFC fights, and we have a couple, and not only that, we have some main events. So first up, UFC Vegas 115 going down April 4th, so unfortunately an Apex event, but you get Renato Moicano, the number 10 ranked lightweight, taking on the unranked Chris Duncan. I love this. Chris Duncan has been killing it. He's on a 5-fight winning streak. He's been getting fight of the nights. He's been getting crazy finishes, such as the most recent Terrence McKinney one. He's been doing great. 15-2 in the professionally, 6-1 in the UFC, and I'm excited to see him in his first main event when he takes on Renato Moicano. And look, Renato Moicano is ranked number 10. It wasn't but less than, actually close to a year and a half now since he last beat Benoit Saint Denis, but last year just didn't treat him well. Dude, he lost to Islam Makhachev, that's okay, but losing to Beneil Dariush, Renato, just not a good look. So, Renato's back, looking to get it done. He does turn 37 in May, so it's not necessarily the greatest look. And as for Chris Duncan, I mean, he actually also has a birthday in May, but he's only turning 33 this year. So Chris Duncan looking to make a run. I'm probably going to be riding with him. This is a very interesting main event, very reminiscent of the random main events they were putting on in November of 2025. Next up, we actually have a main event, which I love, except it's going down in the frickin' Apex. UFC Vegas 116 on April 25th. Main event, the number 6 ranked Sean Brady takes on the number 9 ranked Joaquin Buckley in the men's welterweight division. Now, I absolutely love this fight because in terms of just high-level technicality, these are two of the best welterweights on the planet. It's in the Apex, though. Like, we have to remember, Sean Brady fought Leon Edwards in front of a, London crowd that was red hot, and Joaquin Buckley fought Kamaru Usman in front of an Atlanta crowd, and now they've just been littered to the Apex. I mean, these two could have fought in Vegas in front of a crowd. They could have fought in Philly, in Sean Brady's hometown, and no, instead they're fighting in the Apex, and I think they deserve better, but hey, it's still a good matchup, still will be fun. I'm leaning Sean Brady because it's really striking for Joaquin and grappling for Sean Brady. And traditionally, I think I've seen that Joaquin Buckley struggles more with the grapplers. Now, after what Michael Morales, though, did to Sean Brady, Joaquin Buckley, you know the game plan. Fun fight for you coming at you for UFC 327. It will be on the main card April 11th. And Josh Hockett is 8-0 professionally. He is 2-0, and he's kind of beaten 2 tin cans to start off his UFC career. And if you want to know how far a gimmick and charisma can get you, he's taking on the number 4 ranked Curtis Blades. He is taking on the number 4 ranked Curtis Razor Blades. Curtis just beat Rizvan Cunha. Curtis Blades is really, really good. I mean, it's not like he's past his prime. You got to remember, like, he's been fighting in the UFC a while. He's only 35. He's only 35 in February. So, actually, he just turned 35, I'm just realizing. But, see, he's not that old. Hockett, 6 years younger, so he's 29. I really don't think Josh Hockett can win, but at the same time, he's getting this opportunity, so the UFC must see something. It's a fun fight. It could probably open the main card for UFC 327, which, by the way, doesn't have a main event whatsoever. It has a co-main event, Tetsuo Taira versus Joshua Van for the flyweight title, but it doesn't have a main event. But, hey, Josh Hockett, if he beats Curtis Blades, if he wins that fight, he's going to deliver one of the most craziest post-fight interviews I've ever seen. Now, I don't know if he can do it. It's a big test, and Curtis Blades is honestly one of the craziest gatekeepers. Like, it is impossible to leap Curtis Blades. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last few guys to beat him. We've had Tom Aspinall, obviously. You've had Derek Lewis in 2021. Did he lose in 2022, 2023, 2024? Honestly, Curtis Blades is, tough competition to beat. So, fun matchup. UFC 327, I absolutely love it. And that's kind of like the last big fight. I mean, UFC Winnipeg on April 18th, you got Melissa Croden taking on Daria Zelinikova. Interesting fight there. I'd probably lean on the side of Daria. You got another women's matchup between Mayra Bueno Silva and Michelle Montague at UFC Vegas 116. Now, Mayra's still ranked number 12 at women's bantamweight, and Michelle Montague is 7-0 with 7 finishes. So, honestly, looking forward to that one. You also get Rafael Filo versus Lucas Rocha, UFC Vegas 116, little men's flyweight showdown. You know, Lucas Rocha 1-1 in the UFC, holds a win over Stuart Nicole. Rafael Filo, he's gone 3-2, but he's had some really tough fights. So, I'd probably lean on the side of Rafael Filo. And then our most recent new matchup, which we'll be talking about later, is that Ernesta Karakic is no longer going to be taking on Sofia Montenegro. Instead, she'll be taking on Regina Turin. And Regina Turin is 7-0. She was also born in 2004. She's younger than me. She is only 20. Wow, she's 21, actually. She turns 22 this year, for goodness sakes. And, don't know how she's going to do. But certainly Ernesta Karakic will prove some challenges. We'll actually have to do our prediction for that later on the episode, so I will save my thoughts. But those are the new UFC fights that have been coming at you. Lots of fun stuff. Overall, I'm looking forward to it. But I'll tell you what else I'm looking forward to, and that is going to be the not UFC, what the frick am I talking about? WWE Elimination Chamber. Every year, WWE goes to the Elimination Chamber. It's one of the most fun events that they put on. And this year, it is in Chicago, Illinois at the United Center. And we now know all of our fights going down on this event, and there's only 4. Only 4 for some reason. I wish there were 5, but I guess not. So we're gonna go in the order which I think these are gonna take place in, and it'll be a real telltale if CM Punk main events. I don't think he should. I think the Chamber should main event, but we'll have to see. So, predicting the order here, we're probably going to go women, then men. Probably 2 women's fights, then 2 men's fights, if you're asking me. So, in my opinion, they should kick things off with the women's Chamber. Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez. And the winner will be taking on Jade Cargill at WrestleMania, because we already know that Liv Morgan is going to be challenging Stephanie Vaquer for the title. Now, there's only one other way I see this happening is if Raquel Rodriguez were to win and she goes to have it be a triple threat, but I don't really see that take place. And for anyone that doesn't know what the Elimination Chamber match is, it's essentially this giant steel contraption, and 2 competitors start off in the ring, and 4 are in pods on each corner of this giant steel structure, and then every 5 minutes or so, one is released, and if you get pinned or submitted, you get eliminated, thus the Elimination Chamber, and whoever the last person standing gets a championship match at WrestleMania. But I do believe they have this labeled for the WWE Women's Championship, the belt that Jade Cargill holds. So, like I said, I'll make a case for each wrestler. I did it last year. Raquel Rodriguez, her only case is she would go and actually not challenge Jade Cargill. She'd go and have a triple threat, and I just don't see that taking place. There's just no real thrill there. There's also Asuka. Asuka is just, she's at a point where Asuka's just kind of a jobber. Asuka just doesn't have the build where it's she could go to WrestleMania, and her and Jade Cargill have no crossover. So Asuka is just a big name to have in this match. She's probably going to feud with Io Sky or Kairi Sane heading into WrestleMania. You also have Kiana James, and Kiana James is the freshest face in here. She's been killing it, broken out of her manager role with Julia. She had a great run in the Royal Rumble, and now she made it to the Elimination Chamber, which I absolutely love for her. Now, we're going to talk about the similar thing in the men's, is that WWE is just not really at a point where they give big wins like this to newbies, to people they're trying to push. They only really give it to seasoned, established people. It's not how it used to be in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Okay, they don't experiment anymore. They know what they want. And for Kiana James, I just don't think they want to have her win this and go to WrestleMania just yet. Now, I would love it. I'm rooting for her, but right now I'd put her odds at around plus 500. Dare I say plus 450? I just don't think they're going to give it to her. Now, third in line here, I got Alexa Bliss. You can always throw Alexa Bliss into the mix, but something tells me her and Charlotte Flair have themselves intertwined here. I just kind of think that's the case. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just got a feeling that they're going to be giving this to, not giving this to Alexa Bliss because she has something going on with Charlotte. I'm assuming they're going to have a feud at WrestleMania to some degree. Maybe they break up their friendship. I don't know. But Alexa Bliss doesn't really strike me as the winner of this to take on Jade Cargill. I think the big two here are going to be Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton, and really the debate between these two, it's going to be the same for the men's too. Like I'm kidding you, these two are so similar. I do think the men's is a tinge better, just a bit. But, Rhea Ripley is just like, it's Rhea Ripley. It's Rhea Ripley. You can throw her in the main event. It makes sense. But, it's just, do they want to do Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill and then Rhea Ripley wins the women's championship? They could. They could really do that. Or do they want to go with Tiffany Stratton, who she has history with Jade Cargill, but they already had a long feud. It was kind of boring, if you ask me. And I don't really know how big a WrestleMania rematch would be for either of these ladies. So it comes down to Rhea Ripley versus Tiffany Stratton. If you ask me, Kiana James is my wild card. And honestly, it's just trying to imagine what makes sense. I mean, Jade Cargill has had nothing going, so whoever wins this, it's going to be like a fresh feud for her. So if I honestly had to choose, I really want to pick Kiana James. The more I think about it, she'd be such a wild card. But I just think the favorite option here is probably going to be Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill is a new feud. It's just two badass women going at it. And, hey, you can't beat anything there. But if they do go Tiffany Stratton, I just think it's a bit dull. If anything, they're going to have to add in another mixture into that. So fingers crossed that it is Rhea Ripley. We're going to be staking a lot on this as we have not gotten an incorrect prediction wrong when it comes to our WWE picks for the year. After that, I presume they'll do AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, the long-awaited singles debut of AJ Lee since, return since a decade ago where she last wrestled a singles match. So I do think that she will defeat Becky Lynch for the title. You have to do at least one title change on here, and Becky Lynch can easily eat the L because they'll rematch at WrestleMania, maybe in a stipulation match, and Becky Lynch will just win the title back. So AJ Lee, hometown of Chicago, I think it'll be red hot when she taps out Becky Lynch. In fact, if anything, you could run a submission match at WrestleMania since both of their finishers are submissions, and I think it'll work. But it'll also be a good way to get the crowd going post-women's match. I don't really know if they're going to do women's, and then men's. It'll be interesting to see what they decide, but this is going to be coming right off of Chamber, so it's got to keep the crowd hot, and nothing hotter than having AJ Lee and Becky Lynch going at it. And I don't mean because it's two women wrestling. I mean just because of how exciting it's going to be. That sounded weird when I said it, but AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, I got AJ Lee winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship in a very ceremonial moment. After that, I assume her husband will wrestle, CM Punk defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. The biggest pop of the night will be going to CM Punk. And here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to prepare you guys. If this is the main event, something big's going to happen. Something big's going to happen. Now, I think everyone predicts that this will be the second to last or the runner-up. I mean, you could even open with this. I don't know. But I just don't really see Finn Balor winning here. If anything, Dominic Mysterio is going to get involved. Those two are going to have a feud at WrestleMania. There's your match there. But you already got CM Punk and Roman Reigns booked in here. I mean, you could have announced that after this event, but you already announced it. So you've kind of already spoiled that CM Punk is going to win, but they could always go for some shock value. I hope they do, but I doubt it. CM Punk winning in Chicago seems like a lock for me. And then before we get to the main event, what I presume will be the main event, the Elimination Chamber match for an undisputed WWE Championship match at WrestleMania 42, there's this thing with a crate. So I don't know what the storyline is going on here, but there was this crate delivered and it said don't open until Elimination Chamber. And I'm thinking a lot of people want it to be Chris Jericho, and I just don't know if it is. I really don't. I would love to think it's Chris Jericho. It's going to be a surprise. It's probably going to be something super dumb. But yes, there's going to be a giant crate opened on this event. It's going to unveil something. Now, I saw a couple people that were just kind of theorizing that's going to have something to do with the new WWE 2K game. Another person thinks it has to do with an indie wrestler who's friends with CM Punk and he's making his debut. He dresses kind of like a clown. And then a lot of people think Chris Jericho. So I'd probably lean on the side of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho would turn in a crate would be the most Chris Jericho thing ever. Like, hey guys, I'm back and I've been in this crate for a few weeks. So good to be out of here, ready for WrestleMania. I don't really know. That's just something to pay attention to if you're going to be watching Elimination Chamber. But let's get right to the main event here for the WWE Championship match against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. We got a lot of wrestlers in here. Jey Uso, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Cody Rhodes, LA Knight, Randy Orton. Now, Let's process of elimination. First up, Jey Uso wasn't supposed to be here. It was supposed to be Big Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed got hurt, and Jey Uso was forced to win the match on, I think it was just Monday, just the other day. So that's really unfortunate. Jey Uso is just in here to yeet, to get the crowd going, and I'm so sick of Jey Uso. I hope he doesn't even make it on the WrestleMania card. Next up, I got Javon Evans. He is just going to be such a stud in this match. He's going to be high-flying. He's going to be eating big shots, and something tells me he's going to eat an RKO off the top of the pod to get eliminated. Something just tells me that. Something just tells me, so just want to keep that in the back of your mind. But he's young, early 20s. He was just called up, and he's not going to WrestleMania to take out Drew McIntyre just yet. Now, maybe down the line, he ends up taking on, a WWE Championship opportunity. I can guarantee that. But for the time being, Javon Evans is locked into this role of just being a high flyer, just getting in reps on the main roster. And the fact they even gave him this opportunity is just really huge to me. So congrats to Javon Evans. Steal the show in this match, but you will not be winning, unfortunately. Next up, Trick Williams. Similar spot for Javon Evans. I mean, he has just been murdering it. He has been doing phenomenal on SmackDown. Javon on Raw, Trick Williams on SmackDown. He's been doing good. I think the money fight everyone's kind of looking at is him versus Carmelo Hayes for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. That just seems like a foregone conclusion. But you could always have him win here. He's in the Kiana James spot. Okay, if you give it to him, I think it would be great shock value. It'd be amazing. But I just don't think they want Trick Williams to be the main event guy just yet. He'll win a WWE Championship along the line. Let me tell you that. But for the time being, not thinking so. Also, he's a heel. He's kind of plays this like heelish kind of character, just kind of like cocky, and then Drew McIntyre's a heel, so it just won't work. So you have to know a babyface is going to win this, which brings us to the final three here. Cody Rhodes, LA Knight, Randy Orton, and I don't know what WWE's going to do, because obviously the favorite's Cody Rhodes, but it's to a point where it's like, if they really just have Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley win, it's going to be so dull. It's going to be so dull, but at least one of them are going to win. So I'm going to err on the side of, Rhea Ripley winning, and they're going to do some shock value here, because you got LA Knight who gets screwed over and over and over again. There's also rumors out there he's going to be taking on, oh my gosh, what's his face? Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That is not the WrestleMania match to do. It should be Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, but WWE might fumble that. They also don't know what to do with Randy Orton. You do Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the Night 1 main event? I don't know, but I have an idea. And it comes along the lines of Randy Orton screwing Cody Rhodes. It's just that time. It's that time. This just feels like the perfect spot for it to be Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, and maybe like LA Knight or Jey Uso is left, and Randy Orton screws Cody Rhodes to eliminate him. Now, I was thinking there may be this like scenario where, Randy Orton gets eliminated and then attacks Cody Rhodes and LA Knight comes in and wins, but that was just me being just thinking way outside the box. So what I do think will happen, honestly, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with Randy Orton winning. Oh my gosh, it's hard to predict. It's really hard to predict because it's so easy to just go Cody Rhodes, but something tells me I should be rooting for Randy Orton here. I really should. Give me Randy Orton to win the men's elimination chamber here. I think it would just leave the crowd going crazy, and the heel turn would be nuts, and then you can just do a triple threat at WrestleMania or even a Fatal 4 if you want to throw in Jacob Fat too. But just to have Randy Orton win this would be fantastic. If you just have the poster boy Cody Rhodes win, oh my goodness, it's going to be boring. So we're going to go oddball here, Randy Orton, and will it be right? I hope so. I just hope this is going to be entertaining. I'm actually not going out for a Saturday night for the first in so long. I'm actually going to be locked in. I'm going to try and get a guest on the pod, this MMA guy I met on TikTok, and we're going to watch ourselves a little Elimination Chamber. So exciting stuff. Looking forward to it, and I'll have to let you guys know how everything goes when we do a recap next week. But enough about WWE. We'll be watching. We'll be exciting, but we have a very difficult to predict Mexico City card. I'm not saying any locks, really. Okay, I have a couple. I got my eyes peeled on here, but I'm just telling you, it is far and in between with these picks here, okay? So we'll get right into it. No time to waste. Opening the card, it's two debuting guys coming off the Contender Series. Wes, the Baby Yaga, or not, the Wes Party Time Schultz, and Damian, the Baba Yaga Pinas. Okay, Pinas, P-I-N-A-S, his last name might be Penis, I don't know. Wes Schultz, plus 195 underdog. Damian Pinas, minus 250 favorite. Damian's 8-1, Wes is 8-2, 6'2 to 6'1, 1 inch in height for Wes, and 2 inches in reach for Damian, 79 to 77. Both guys fight orthodox, and the only real noticeable thing here is the 6-year age gap between Wes Schultz over Damian Pinus. So we'll start with Wes Schultz here. Coming off the Contender Series, he's 29 years old from Milwaukee. 7 of his 8 wins are by finish, 2 KOs and 5 subs. Really known for his submission game. And he dominated on the Contender Series on the final episode of the year. Drops Mario Miyagi, submits him with a Sulov stretch in under 2 minutes. It was crazy. It was really crazy. But what I want to point out is the season before, back in August 2024, he had been finished by Mansour Abdul-Malik, so he is prone to strikers. I just want to throw that out there. Now, he's a grappler. His entire game plan is going to be taking you down, submitting you, name of the game. And I just want to say, he dominated Mario Miyagi. Mario Miyagi, I was thinking was going to be one of the few and far between Italian fighters on the card, and said he shut him out on the Contender Series to earn himself a contract. So I'll be very curious to see how Wes does. He's taking on a guy, Damian Pinus, who is just as straightforward as it comes, all right? 23 years old, trains at the same gym as Jose Aldo. He's actually from Aruba. 8 wins, 8 finishes, 7 of them by KO, 1 by sub, and he had a 2-minute knockout on the Contender Series. So it's very interesting they're having 2 Contender Series guys debut against each other, especially when they're just complete opposite styles. So it just comes down to, do I go submissions or do I go with striking? And odds aside, I really do like Wes Schultz here. I don't know how it's so tough to tell. So tough to tell, Damian Pinus is as straightforward as it gets. He's this big, where's Aruba? I'm trying to think. Is it in Africa? Is it in the Caribbean? I think it's more South America-y, but he is just a big guy with muscle, and he throws power punches. That's as simple as it is. And for Wes Schultz, he's this crafty, lanky submission guy. And so it's so tricky to figure out, but like I said, the odds sometimes phase me here. I should probably go with Damian Pinus, but in terms of underdogs, I just really like Wes Schultz. I really do. I think his submission game can get the victory here, and Mexico just is prone to just boring decisions and just upsets you don't see happening. So we're going to go with Wes Schultz over Damian Pinus by, we'll say, round 1 submission. Round 1 submission train. Keep it running. Next up on the list, we'll be heading to the men's featherweight division as Eric Silva takes on Francis Marshall. Eric the King Silva, Francis Fire Marshall. Francis got an inch in reach. They're the same height. Pretty similar records as well. I mean, these two are about as similar as it gets, except for the fact Francis Marshall is 12 years younger. Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe this. This Eric Silva, who is fighting here, I have no idea how he still has fights on his contract, but he's a plus 390 underdog. Francis is swelling up to minus 530. Personally, I think Francis should be in fraud watch territory. He should not be that high, but nonetheless, Francis Marshall is still good. He's ran into just tough competitors. Of his 5 UFC fights, 3 of them have been split decisions, including taking William Gomez and Myron Santos to close decisions. A lot of his fights, they end up being close. He does kind of struggle with the grappling, but he's also had success with the grappling, so it's going to be tricky what happens here. Now, Eric Silva was born in Venezuela. He now trains out of Costa Rica. He's got 7 wins out of his 9 by finish, and all of his L's he's been knocked out or submitted in. And he's 38. Like I said, he's 38. He's so old. Currently 0-2 in the UFC. Submission loss in 2022 and an injury loss in 2024. He literally hurt his toe 44 seconds into a fight with Muhammad Naimov. Oddly enough, the last time they were in Mexico City, or it might have been 2 times ago they were in Mexico City. But funny enough, he's back here trying to get it done. And yeah, name of the game, stick with Francis Marshall here. I mean, just 38 and having any shred of potential in the featherweight division, I don't see that coming true. So give me Francis Marshall, probably by split decision. After that, that's one of our biggest favorites on the card. We are heading to the catchweight division as we have a little matchup between Regina Kill Bill Taryn and Ernesta Heavy-Handed Karacic. That's right. It's supposed to be Sofia Montenegro, but she unfortunately had to pull out, so Ernesta will still instead take on Regina Taryn. Like I said, Regina, she's young. This is, I think, going down at 135, I want to say. So this is probably going to be like a 130 matchup or something. We'll have to see. But I don't know much about Regina Taryn, to be honest, but I do know about Ernesta Karacic. I know that she is 1-1 in the UFC. Only loss was a decision to Dione Barbosa in 2024. She actually won over Carly Judice by split decision on the Contender Series. I know that that's good. And she beat Nicole Cagliari last year by split decision. Now, she's 27 from Lithuania. Of her 6 wins, only 2 knockouts. And she was a minus 345 favorite. So I'm going to lean on the side of Ernesta Karacic. I was actually probably not going to pick her, but just Regina Taryn is just so green, and on short notice, on freaking 4 days notice, 3 days notice, I should say, I am riding with her. So give me your Nessa Kara cage, maybe even by knockout. They call her heavy-handed. Let's go and get a knockout, for goodness sakes. Next up, back in the men's featherweight division, as Douglas Silva de Andrade, D. Silva, is taking on Javier Blair Reyes. And this is set up for Javier to get a nasty knockout. Now, they're both 5'7", 5 inches in reach for Javier is going to be the biggest thing you see here, and an 8-year age gap favors Javier Reyes in terms of being the younger fighter. He's 22-5. Douglas Silva de Andrade is 29-6. Douglas, 40 years old. Wow. 40 years old from Brazil. But look at this. Out of his 29 wins, 20 knockouts and 2 subs. This guy still gets finishes. Of his 6 defeats, he's only ever been finished twice, and he's gotten 7-6 in the UFC. He was actually supposed to fight on March 1st of 2025. That fight fell through with whoever it was. So he actually hasn't fought since June of 2024 when he lost the decision to Miles Johns. Last win, May 2023 over Cody Stamann. Now, he's taking on some tough guys. Saider Magomedov, Leroy Murphy, Henan Barao, Petr Yan, Marlon Vera, Rob Font. He's taking on some absolute killers in the game, but just kind of been all over the place. He's also 40, so he's pushing it. He's taking on a guy in Javier Reyes who's coming off of just a nasty knockout on the Contender Series. 32 years old from Colombia, but now trains out of Phoenix. 18 of his 22 wins are by finish. Of his 5 defeats, he's only ever been finished 3 times, and he is the -240 favorite. So you already know we're going to be riding with Javier Reyes by knockout. It feels like the right pick. It really does. Just so many Contender Series fighters on this card, and honestly, I love it. Season 9 produced some absolute killers, and I'm excited to see how they perform in the UFC, and I think Javier Reyes can pass the test. This is about as close as he's going to get to home for a while. There just isn't really much going on in Colombia or even in Arizona for fights, so fighting in Mexico City, kind of the happy medium for him. Hopefully he can get some family out there. We're going Javier Reyes, round 1 knockout. After that, we head to the men's bantamweight division, and honestly, I have no idea how this fight's even happening. But you have Christian Quinones taking on Chris Muatino. Just 2 of the worst men's bantamweights that have ever been on the roster. I kid you not. Now, Christian, 18-5. He's actually had some success in the UFC, as opposed to Chris Muatino, who has had 0 success. He's 14-7. 1 inch a night for Christian, 2 inches in reach as well. He fights orthodox. Chris Muatino fights southpaw. Now, Quinones is the -650 favorite. Chris Muatino +420. Quinones coming in, 29 years old from Mexico. Hometown boy. 10 knockouts and 3 subs out of his 18 wins. And of all his losses, he has been finished. Oh, really good. He was actually supposed to fight Adrian Yanez back in November, so he's been slated to fight some tough guys. But Quinones actually hasn't fought in 2 years. Last time he fought on the Mexico City card in 2024, where Raoni Barcelos submitted him in round 3. Before that, June 2023, submitted. His last win, Khalid Taha, September 2022 in Paris. Not a good look, Christian. Not a good look at all. Honestly, you're just lucky you're having a layup in Chris Muatino. Chris Muatino, back again. 33 years old from Massachusetts. 9 wins by finish of his 14. 6 KOs and 3 subs. All 7 of his defeats he's been finished in. And he's, of course, the +420 underdog. Now, he's been TKO'd by Sean O'Malley. He's been knocked out by Guido Canetti, and you'd have thought it was over, but after he returned to the UFC last year, he took on Malcolm Wellmaker and was absolutely massacred. Oh, one of the nastiest knockouts of the year last year, just face-planted him. I think Chris Muatino has the best chance he's ever had in the UFC so far to pick up a win, but you betcha we're not picking him. I got Christian Quinones, probably utilizing the grappling here. Taking him down, getting an early submission. Look, I'm rooting for Chris Muatino. I hope I'm wrong. I hope my parlays are tarnished with a Chris Muatino win, but I don't know. I have no idea. Chris Muatino, I wish you luck, but nothing in my right mind can make me pick you. I got to ride with the hometown guy, Christian Quinones. And then, next up on the docket, women's bantamweight division. Here we go. You actually have your first big top 10 fight. And then it goes to the women's bantamweight division as the number 7th ranked Aline Perez takes on the number 8th ranked Macy Chiasson. One of the biggest fights of the career of Aline Perez. She's 12-2. Macy's 11-5. Macy does hold an outstanding 6-inch height and 6-inch reach. advantage. Kind of crazy. Aling fights switch, or Macy fights orthodox, and usually that height and size difference would really impact my decision, but honestly, it makes me want to lean on Aling Perez more. Now, Macy Chiasson, 34 years old, born in Louisiana, now fights out of Dallas. 6 of her 11 wins are by finish. Of her 5 defeats, she's been finished twice. She's gone 8-5 in the UFC and is the plus 135 underdog. She's just never really been able to string it together. She won the Ultimate Fighter around 8 years ago now. Had a couple of tough fights throughout the years. Hakwel Pennington, Irene Aldana, Norma Dumont, Panky Anzad, but 2025 did not treat her well. 2 boring decision losses, and the Yana Santos loss was excruciating. I mean, it was a really bad one. It was really bad. Just showed how much she has declined as a fighter. So, not really liking her odds here. Been a year and a half since she last won, and as for Aling Perez, she's been trending up. 5 straight wins for the Argentinian, who now fights out of Miami. 31 years old. 6 of those, their 12 wins are by finish. She's also had, she's a favorite. That's 165. Picked up a win in January last year against Cara Rosen. I thought she was in for a big year, and she just never ended up fighting. I don't know what took place. So, Aling Perez, get it done. Grapple your way to a victory over Macy Chiasson. I don't know if she's going to get the finish, but if she did, it would be awesome. But I am going to be rooting actively for Aling Perez. So this is a biased prediction, rooting for a woman that I generally want to see win. Aling Perez, my biggest riser in the women's bantamweight division. This is where we kick it off with a big win over Macy Chiasson. Then I think this will be our final prelim here if we have a 6-fight main card. Middleweight division as Ryan Problema Gandra takes on Jose Chico Daniel Medina. And this is slated to be a massacre. Ryan is 8-1. Jose's 11-6. They both are 6'1". They both have a 74-inch reach, and they both fight in the orthodox stance. All right, fairly similar stuff. When we look at the age, Jose is only 4 years older, 34 as opposed to 30. He's from Bolivia, now trains out of Florida. 10 of his 11 wins are actually by finish, 8 knockouts and 2 subs. And then you look, and he's a plus 400 underdog. Wow, that's big. You may be like, why? Well, he's 0-3 and also lost in the Contender Series. I have no idea how this guy's still in the company either. Lost to Zach Reese in his debut, and then last year was knocked out in round 1 by Ateba Gaudier and submitted in round 1 by Dusko Todorovic. Really bad. Really bad. He is just not cut out for the UFC. Now, maybe he can win this with a lucky shot, but Ryan Gandra, to me, looked like an absolute killer. Also coming off of this Season 9 Contender Series. He's on a 7-fight winning streak, fights out of Brazil. 6 of those 8 wins are by finish, and he's a minus 550 favorite. I mean, this dude killed Trent Miller. I mean, it looks like he hits hard, swings hard, and he looks like he has a chin on him, too. Now, we're to be seen, but historically how this goes, I'm sure you can assume this guy's 0-3 in the UFC. They're feeding into a guy coming off the Contender Series, a tale as old as time that will continue to repeat itself through the rest of the UFC's lifetime. But past my lifetime, past when I am long past this earth in heaven, chilling with everyone, yeah, you're still going to be seeing the same cycle repeating here. So, Ryan Gandra, round 1 knockout, take it to the bank. Honestly, that might be one of my locks for the night. Ryan Gandra, lock that in. With that, we'll actually get into the main card, which I can confirm these will be main card fights from up here as I've taken a look, and it will be a 6-fight main card. So, first up on the docket, bantamweight division, Santiago Border Boy Luna takes on Angel Pacheco. I'm sorry, your nickname is Border Boy. Santiago Luna, really, Border Boy. I love it. Can I lock him in now? Since his nickname is Border Boy? That's awesome. He's 7-0. Angel Pacheco, his opponent, 7-3. 1 inch in height for Santiago and 4 inches in reach as well, 74-70. He fights orthodox, and he also has a 12-year age advantage over Angel Pacheco. Angel Pacheco is 34. Santiago is currently 21. Now, as for Angel, I do got to give him a bit of a shout out as he is from Minnesota, but this is just slated to be Santiago's night. Santiago Luna, 21 years young, from Mexico. 7 of his 7 wins are by finish. I mean, come on. Recently knocked out Kwang Lee on UFC Noche back in September. Minus 480 favorite. I mean, there's just not much more to say. So we're going to take this highlighter right here. If no one knows, I write out all my predictions and highlight them with a bunch of the notes I take. And we're going to highlight them already before we even discuss Angel Pacheco. Now, Angel always has the chance for an upset. Like I said, 7 wins for him, 7 finishes, so that's good. 34 years old from Minnesota. He's the plus 350 underdog. But he fought in the Contender Series in 2023, lost the decision. debuted in the UFC in 2024, lost the decision, and hasn't had an MMA fight in 2 freaking years. So, give me Santiago Luna, really rooting for him, but honestly, this is one of those cards where I just feel like we're going to get some upsets, and so keep your eyes on it, triple check out. It could take place. We then drop down to the flyweight division, and of our final 5 fights, 3 of them are flyweight division, so putting the flyweights on notice. We have Emmanuel Heeman Rodriguez taking on Kevin El Gallo Negro Borjas. Really? El Gallo Negro, the black cat, Kevin, or the cat black? I don't know. Manuel Rodriguez is 6-0. Kevin Borjas is 10-4. 1 inch in height for Kevin, and 4 inches in reach for Kevin as well. Wow, orthodox stance as well for Kevin. Wow, very nice, Kevin. Good stuff for you. For Emmanuel, he is 26 years old from Mexico. 6 wins, 6 finishes. And I think his last time he actually lost was a split decision to Joseph Morales to go to the Ultimate Fighter finale. So this guy has never actually lost a fight in the professional scene. On the amateurs, only 1 defeat, and he destroyed Roque Concenero on the Contender Series. 3 knockdowns in 2 minutes and 12 seconds. That's insane. That's averaging a knockdown every around 45 seconds approximately, and that's the reason he's the minus 420 favorite. And the guy that he last lost to was a split decision who won the Ultimate Fighter. So, Emmanuel Rodriguez, this should be a coming out party for you. 26 years on, fighting in front of your home state of Mexico. Good freaking luck to you as you take on Kevin Borjas. And Kevin, he's got some UFC experience under his belt. This is year 3 in the UFC for Kevin, 28 years old from Peru. He's got 8 of his 10 wins by knockout, which is pretty good, but he's the plus 310 underdog. Currently 1-3 in the UFC. I mean, he's lost to Joshua Van, Alessandro Costa, and most recently in August, lost to Suma Darji. And the Suma Darji fight was just kind of depressing. I mean, he just never uncorked it. I mean, aside from the fact he was on foreign soil in China, taking on the hometown guy, Suma Darji, he just never let loose, and it just wasn't working out. It just wasn't working out for him, and I think they're feeding him to a guy, Emmanuel Rodriguez, who's coming in red hot. I mean, this is just the night of the Contender Series, guys. And this is one of the final ones on the card to be on the Contender Series, and I think all of them are going to have success. The only person that I think is going to lose coming off the Contender Series is going to be Damian Pinas, and that's because he's taking on a guy from Season 9 of the Contender Series. So, interesting stuff all around. Emmanuel Rodriguez should put on a boxing masterclass. I'll be rooting for him. Sticking with us in the flyweight division, Edgar Cherez takes on Felipe Bunez. 5'7" for both guys. Edgar's 12-6. Felipe's 14-8. 2 inches in reach for Edgar. He and Felipe both fight orthodox. Edgar's minus 250. Felipe's plus 190. Honestly, sounds about right if you ask me. Edgar Cherez has had a very interesting run in the UFC. The 30-year-old is from Mexico and has 12 of his 12 wins by finish, 4 knockouts and 8 subs. Of his 6 defeats, he's been submitted twice, and he was actually supposed to fight on UFC Noche against Felipe Bunez, but instead, that fight never came to fruition. So, that freaking sucks. Edgar Cherez, instead, last time he fought was actually in March for the last time we were in Mexico City. He submitted CJ Vergara. His last loss was actually Joshua Van, and his 2 losses in the UFC have been decisions to Joshua Van and Tatu Otero. That is right. So, Edgar Cherez, tough competition under his belt. He also had a weird trilogy with Daniel Lacerda where he ended up winning it. No idea of how that even turned out, but good stuff all around. For Edgar Cherez, I do like his odds when he takes on Felipe Bunez. Felipe, 36 years old from Brazil. He's also got 12 finishes out of his 14 wins, and then 3 of his 8 losses have come by finish here. He's gone 1-2 in the UFC. Knockout loss to Joshua Van. Armbar win over Jose Johnson. And then Rafael Esteme grappled him to death. So, going to be riding with Edgar Cherez. He's not only the hometown guy, but I just think overall he's a better fighter. But hey, Felipe Bunez, plus 190. Maybe we could sprinkle some money on him. We are just picking who we generally think are going to win. I'm not trying to go for underdogs on this card. The only one that I'm really thinking underdog-ish on is probably Wes Schultz. Everyone else I've been fairly confident on. Can get it done. And with that, we get into what I'll say is the big 3 on this card. There's always the big 3, the big 2, the big 4 fights on the card. I say it's the big 3 here. And kicking us off, lightweight division, Daniel Zellhuber, the golden boy. Back again. This time they're giving him King Green. We'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it freaking turns out. Daniel Zellhuber is 15-3. King Green is 33-17. And Daniel Zellhuber is the definition of someone who should not be 3-3 in the UFC. All right, but first let me just do a quick tail of tape. He's 2 inches taller than Green. He's got 6 inches in height. He fights switch stance. King Green fights orthodox. He's also 13 years younger. So there's that. But Daniel Zellhuber, I have no idea how this guy has just kept losing. So he's 26 years old from Mexico, trains at Extreme Couture, same gym as Sean Strickland, Chris Curtis, all those killers. 10 of his 15 wins are by finish, 7 KOs and 3 subs. He's also the minus 500 favorite. And he's just had the weirdest luck. So wins on the Couture series. He comes in 12-0 actually, takes on Trey Ogden and loses. Just looked out of it in that fight. That was back in 2022, so it's been almost 4 years now. Could barely win any round on the contenders on the judges' scorecard. Defeats Lando Venata, then submits Cristiano Giagios, and then has a fight of the night victory over Francisco Prado at UFC Mexico City 2024. Then UFC 306 loses a split decision fight of the night to Esteban. Okay, that was a good fight. It was close, all right? But then he comes back in July against Michael Johnson, and I don't know if it's just the Michael Johnson effect, but Michael Johnson was looking so good. Daniel Zellhuber couldn't get a thing done against him. And my only worry is that King Green fights like Michael Johnson, both two veterans of the game, and I don't know the potential. I don't know the potential here for, Daniel Zellhuber. So we'll see how he does, because King Green coming in with some momentum. He really is. You know him, you love him, you hate him. 39 years old from Cali. 20 finishes out of those 33 career wins, out of those 17 career losses. 9 times he's been finished or, knocked out or submitted. He's gotten 14, 12-1 in the UFC. Wow, this will be his 28th UFC fight, and he'll be plus 350 on the odds. Your favorite fighter has probably fought in Bobby King Green. I mean, where to even begin? He's fought in the late, great James Krause. You remember the betting guy? Yeah, you remember him? He fought him before. Edson Barbosa, Dustin Poirier, you name him, who else? Clay Guida, Rafael Fiziev, Islam Makhachev. Actually, if you didn't know, 4 years ago, he actually main evented a fight night against Islam Makhachev. Funny how the world works. Now, if we're talking modern times, I'm talking 2024, he's 2-2. All right, 2025, treated him okay. Knockout, lost to Mauricio Ruffy, and then split decision win over Lance Gibson Jr. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to hope that Daniel Zellhuber has it in him still, because if he loses this, he's getting cut. And I like to think there's still some potential in Daniel Zellhuber. They have him in EA Sports UFC 5, for goodness sakes, and they don't even have the guys in the co-main event and main event. What does that say about that game? So, going to go with Daniel Zellhuber. I think there's potential to even get a finish on here, but man, you got to want it. You got to want it bad, Daniel Zellhuber. You can't show up for another run-of-the-mill fight. You really have to prove that you belong with the big dogs at 155. With that, we get into the co-main event. This has been the one fight I've been flip-flopping on all week in my head, and now that we're here, I'm realizing I'm going to have to choose my fighter, but we got the number 10 ranked David Martinez taking on the number 9 ranked Marlon Chito Vera. Marlon, 23-11-1. David Dr. V. Martinez, 13-1. 3 inches tonight for Marlon and 3 inches in reach. He fights switch stance. David fights orthodox. He's also 6 years older, 33 opposed to 27. So we'll start with the number 9 ranked Marlon Vera. You know him. I mean, we've known about Marlon Vera for a long time now. 33 years old from Ecuador, but now trains out of Cali. 18 of those 23 wins are by finish, and he's never actually been finished in his entire career. He's only ever been dropped once by Devison Figueiredo. So he's fairly good. He's also the plus 220 underdog, and has gone 15-10 in the UFC. So this will be fight number 26 for Marlon Vera. Been with the company since 2014. He's taken on David Grant, John Lineker. He's taken on Song Yadong, Sean O'Malley, Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar, Rob Font, Dominic Cruz. Oddly enough, this could be insane to believe. His last win was in August of 2023 when he beat Pedro Munoz. That's crazy. Last year, one fight against Amin Zahabi in Canada, and he lost a split decision. Now, that was a weird fight. He obviously lost round one, obviously lost round 2, and then it came down to round 3, and Amin just kind of wanted it more. But I do still sense potential in Marlon Vera. I think this is one of my favorite underdogs that could win on this whole card, but it's do or die for Marlon. I mean, you're 1-4 in your last 5, haven't won in 3 years, you freaking are on a 3-fight losing streak. This is make or break, and it's not easy as he takes on the young gun, David Martinez. From Mexico, 9 straight wins, 10 of those 13 wins are by knockout. He's the minus 280 favorite. Came into the UFC last year, knocked out Samuel Oliveira, and then took on Rob Font on short notice and beat him. So, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, he's fought in either Mexico or San Antonio in his lone UFC fights. He also won in the Contender Series 2 seasons ago. So, man, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I really want to ride with Marlon Vera here. I just don't really feel like Dave Martinez is ready. I really don't, but I've been running into this issue all year where guys, just are breaking through. So, I'm torn. I'm very torn, but I'm thinking, since I'm just going for Brandon Moreno in the main event, I mean, not to spoil it, it's just such an easy prediction. I'm going to spice it up. We're going to go with Marlon Vera because I kind of want the thrill of rooting for him when he takes on Dave Martinez. And I also do think that he has great potential to defeat Dave Martinez. It's weird to think that this could be the end of Marlon Vera, and it's weird to think I don't want this to be the end of Marlon Vera, even though it could be. The final stand for Chito Vera will take place in the co-main event. Which brings us to the main event, and honestly, there was no way this was going to be good. I mean, it was originally supposed to be Brandon Moreno versus Asuma Mabayev, but no one really wanted to see that. Instead, we wound up with Brandon Moreno versus Loner Kavanaugh. The only real excitement here would be if Loner Kavanaugh could pull off a crazy upset, and as we've seen with many guys before, it's rarely the case with Brandon Moreno. Now, Moreno is the minus 245 favorite. Loner's coming in at plus 190, so odds honestly closer than I thought they'd be. Brandon's 23, 9-2. Loner is 9-1, 1 inch in height for Brandon, 3 inches in reach. They both fight orthodox, and Loner is 6 years younger, 26 as opposed to Brandon Moreno at 32, which I just find crazy. Is that Brandon Moreno is 32 years old, and he's been with the UFC for 8 years now. He's achieved so much. I mean, he's a multi-time men's flyweight champion. I think it's two-time. I think he's a two-time champion, also an interim champion. His fight with, two of his fights with Deiveson Figueiredo are legendary. I think that their first and second matches their first and third, I think, were their best, the draw, and then the time he lost to Deiveson Figueiredo. I love his performance against Kai Kara France. His fight with Alexander Pantoja, I still think, is my favorite flyweight fight of all time. And then, of course, in this modern era of Brandon Moreno since 2024, he's been in 3 main events. This will be his 4th, and his only losses are to Brandon Royval and Tetsuo Taira. He was recently finished for the first time in his career against Tetsuo Taira, but that's just prime Tetsuo. What you going to do? His other wins were 5-rounders against Amir Albazi and Steve Erceg, where neither of those guys even won a freaking round. So I don't know what we expect out of Loner Kavanaugh here. I don't know. I don't know. Loner is from London. 5 of his 9 wins are by finish. He was supposed to fight Bruno Silva on March 14th. Instead, they're like, hey, do you want to step up and fight Brandon Moreno? He's like, of course I do. Except if only. If only. Coming off of the Season 8 of the Contender Series, he went 2-0. Decision wins over Jose Ochoa and Felipe Dos Santos. Nothing crazy, impressive. And then he was knocked out cold by Charles Johnson in round 2 back in August against UFC Shanghai. So he's literally just coming off of getting knocked out cold. Just got clipped coming on his back foot, and down he went. So, I mean, this is just one of my locks of the night. Brandon Moreno, I think the excitement here lies with upsets. This card is going to be make or break on upsets. And I hate to say this, but there's just this recurring theme with these cards just being really, really bad. Now, funny enough, the last 2 Mexico cards have actually been headlined by none other than Brandon Moreno. And last year we had one in March, and, you had some decent stuff. Jamal Emmers, Ateba Gaudier, David Martinez getting some good knockouts. Edgar Cherez getting a good finish. Manuel Torres knocking out Drew Dober was entertaining. But the main event sucked. The fact Raul Rosas Jr. isn't on this card is a bummer. The fact that Yair Rodriguez won't fight, and he's one of the most prominent Mexican fighters, honestly just riles me up to a degree it shouldn't rile me up. And other than that, we couldn't even get Alexa Grasso on this card. She's one of the best female Mexican fighters out there. I don't know. It just kind of feels like a mid-throwaway whatever card. But, hey, we'll be rooting for some upsets on this card. The biggest upsets you're going to see is oddly Marlon Vera winning, probably Loner Kavanaugh winning. Chris Muratito winning, I can tell you that for sure. And even 40-year-old Douglas Silva de Andrade would be cool to see him run back the clock. But hey, those are your locks for UFC Vegas. Not UFC Vegas. UFC Mexico City. I think it's UFC Mexico City. I think that's what they're labeling this as. So we're back in Mexico City. Should be entertaining. Pretty sure you can throw on UFC and WWE at the same time if you want. Just have this ultra mega screen of awesomeness. I think that would be tons of fun. So check it out. Let me know what everyone is thinking. It should be a blast. But yeah, that's all I got for this episode. We'll be recapping everything next week. Should be looking for a surprise episode coming up here. I'm going to try and plan it out and get it set up. So should be exciting. But I got prepared for my Zoom coming up here soon. And also, we've ran out of fights to predict. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, go kick some butt this weekend. Go have a great time. I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.